Hello again, my name is Matt, and in this video we're going to be talking about the signal chain. So if you remember, when we hit the select button on the board, it's going to bring up our channel strip. If we click the first box here, we're going to see all that we need to see for this part of the video. Immediately we have the mode, so there's mono and stereo selection. So in the terms of the snare bottom channel, it is mono. We're not going to need more than one patch. But in something like the keys, we're going to see that it's stereo, there's two patches going there, and we can address that appropriately. If we need to change the patch, all we need to do is select the patching and go to another React channel and change the patch if we need to. But since it's fine, I'm going to leave it alone. The next thing we need to worry about is gain staging. Gain staging is important because it eliminates any clipping that happens on the board, and we don't want to have any clipping. It's distracting, it sounds bad, and it's not good practice. In order to make sure that the gain is appropriate, we're going to make sure that the microphone is even getting a signal, and in order to determine that, we're going to need to make sure that the microphone does or does not require 48 volts. Some microphones that we're using on stage require 48 volts, which is just power that makes the microphone make sound in its simplest sense. A couple of the microphones that we use are the C414 AKG microphone. It requires 44 volts, or 48 volts rather. The SM81 also does. A couple of our Sennheiser pencil condenser mics do. Some microphones that do not require 48 volts are the SM58 and the SM57 beta. We have a couple of different DI boxes on stage. We have some passive ones like the Pro AV2. It's passive, so it does not require 48 volts, so make sure it's not on. But the Pro 48 does require 48 volts. We use this for things like an acoustic guitar that's at the front of the stage or the bass that's at the back of the stage. The next thing we're going to see is the pad. As we're adjusting the gain up and down to make sure that the signal is going between the -18 and -12 decibels, if it's still clipping, if it's so high and we don't know what to do, we are going to pad it. That takes away 20 decibels of gain immediately, so it kind of brings that signal down a little bit in a manageable range. After the pad, we have phase reverse. Phase reverse is important when we have two microphones that are pointing at the same source from a different direction. In this example, we're talking about a snare with a microphone on top and a microphone on bottom. The microphone on bottom is going to need to be reversed because if it doesn't, when the channels are summed together in the main output, it's going to sound thin and it's not going to sound like a real snare. It's going to sound funny and distracting. So what we're going to do is we're going to press this button to reverse the phase as long as it's lit up, and that's going to solve that problem. Next, if we go down the line, we see some dynamics plugins, which I'll talk about later, EQ, and at the end we're going to see that we have our panning and our main assignment. At manual we have a left-right and we have a mono channel. The left-right is the main speakers up top, and the mono channel is actually the subs. So certain instruments and certain channels we do not want going to the subs because it's going to sound terrible. For example, we don't want a vocal microphone going into the subs because it's going to sound garbled and you won't actually be able to understand anything that they're saying. Microphones that we do want in the subs are things like the kick drum, where there's a lot of low end going on, we want people to feel it. And the bass guitar, we're going to want that in the subs as well because obviously it's a bass guitar. There's a lot of low frequencies going on there. We want people to hear it. We want people to feel it. So in order to make sure that they're appropriate, we select them, and as long as they're lit up, they're going to be going through that channel. Alright, the last thing that we're going to use on here is the panning. We can see that we turn this blue knob to the left, we're going to go towards the left, and if we go towards the right, it's going to go towards the right. In the event of a stereo channel, like the keys, there's going to be two sources, and as we pan towards the left, it's going to go towards the left, and we'll see them start to move, and if we pan towards the right, they're going to go towards the right. Thank you for listening, and happy mixing!